All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this. Even though you missed the live party, guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to mysickshirt.com, the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at mysickshirt.com. All right. What is good? What is going on? So I thought hey, what's going out to Car Yours over on Instagram? Yeah, I think that this is going to be an interesting show. This is from the European Jewish Association delegation to Auschwitz. From the European Jewish Association, they had an event called the Jewish Voice of Europe, and they had our friends Ben Shapiro and Elon Musk talking about not only just anti-Semitism, but all the DEI stuff and how that is affecting what's going on with X, formerly known as Twitter. I only call it Twix because I hate that name X. But so dive right in. As always, if you can't hear the video, please do let me know.
Elon, obviously, we walked Auschwitz. I said I hadn't been there before either. First of all, just wanted to get your thoughts on what it was like to walk Auschwitz and Birkenau today.
Sad.
Well, it was incredibly moving and deeply sad and tragic that humans could do this to other humans.
If any of you guys have ever been to Auschwitz or one of the concentration camps, definitely let me know in the comments below.
It's good to have the memorial, as the plaque says, so that it never happens again.
Yep. And that ties into, the fact that people are trying to tear down statues, even, in our country, that even if you don't like what the statue is for, the history of that statue is still a part of our history and is a reminder of where we came from and how we got here.
No, I mean, I'm a student of history, so I'd seen the pictures, I'd seen the videos, but it's not quite. It hits you much more in the heart when you see it in person.
Yeah, I remember going to the Holocaust Museum in, I guess it was New York, I think. And yeah, even that was insanely heavy because we were learning about it in school. So it's not like I didn't know what I was walking into, but you see the pile of shoes. They have one room that's just all the shoes. And it's just like those had feet in them of human beings. Shout out to the Camcast. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Said good topic. I thought so as well. Welcome.
I'm still absorbing, frankly, the magnitude of the tragedy that I witnessed, or the place where the tragedy occurred. I think it'll take a few days to sink in, frankly.
That's exactly how I felt with the Holocaust Museum.
And as was mentioned, if there'd been social media, I think it would have been impossible to hide.
Facts.
If there's been freedom of speech as well, So, one of the first things the Nazis did when they came in is they shut down all the press and any means of conveying information.
Yep.
So.
Unlike, the Biden administration with the Hunter Biden laptop story, right?
And it's worth noting in the United States, the First Amendment in the United States was freedom of speech, because the people that came to the United States from other countries did not have freedom of speech. That if they had said something, they could be imprisoned or killed. And that's why the first correction to the Constitution was the ability to say what you want to say and not be thrown in prison or killed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this isn't news to any of you. Obviously, we understand the value of the First Amendment. But again, thinking about things that we already know in a different context and being reminded of the things that we already know is very, very, very important.
You know, Elon is obviously the CEO of X, which is the largest news service on the internet, the place where a huge number of people, including me, get the news. You know, you've been committed since you took over to a much broader perception of free speech on the outlet, and that's led to a lot of criticisms about suggestions of rising anti-Semitism on the outlet as well. I can say for my own part
Well, before where am I? Before he goes into that, let's shout out to David. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. But yeah, I was convinced that the notion that, you know, there was anti-Semitism all over the place was just, you know, rhetoric and propaganda. And I mean, with free speech comes some other stuff. And the fact is, there's a lot of anti-Semitic people out there. I did not know that it was like that. I knew that there was a coalition of people who had these beliefs, and just like there's flat earthers and you know, the people who believe or don't believe we went to the moon. Either way, I just did not see this coming. That anti-Semitism was going to be such a relevant conversation here. So what I'm really the lens, you know, guys, I like to give you guys the lens through which I'm looking at this conversation. And, you know, obviously, Ben is a Jewish man, and Elon is the leader of Twitter and a very free speech advocate. So I'd love to see how those two ideas, especially, you know, they're also about to talk about DEI and stuff, how that folds in, and how, you know, it could be kind of easy to play both sides of you know, we want free speech, but we don't want this, kind of like the Harvard and Stanford people were doing at in Congress, and we could see right through them. David said, weird to blame the Biden administration for the decision of Twitter to block the New York Post story for the day during. Why did they do that? The Twitter just decided to block the story, or did somebody be like, yo, you should block that story? Shout out to Culture Pop with B Hop, another awesome YouTuber. Let me grab his link right here. Welcome to the party. Always good to see you, brother. Just drop the link. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, am I frozen here? There we go. I don't know. Something's happening. I'm trying to drop the link. It'll be there eventually. Welcome to the party.
The broadening of speech on Twitter, I think, has been, and on X, has been an excellent thing. One of the things that I was able to do, for example, in the aftermath of October 7th, was actually put out full footage and pictures of what exactly was happening.
You can see what's really happening, so people and the true horror. The true horror is something people need to be able to see if they want to see it.
And the community notes feature has allowed for people to.
What is happening? My computer is like, it's like lagging. I don't know, but thank you. I love being anyone's favorite Indian. All right, let's see if we need a restart real quick, because if we're gonna do this,
even when things
off the top, then we're gonna do this off the top. Yeah, I don't know what is going on here. What is this? Oh geez. All right, so let's just do this while this is the first time I've had to do this in the middle of
things that are false are put up that used to maybe pass in real time. Now you can correct all of that. How do you balance the necessity for free speech with all these critiques about, you know, what is hate speech, what is anti-Semitism, and how do you balance that?
Okay, but again, the story was in the New York Post. So unless you're trying to shut down the New York Post, which is not right, then it should be able to be shared. If it needs to be corrected later, then they correct it later. That's how news works. Culture Pop said, okay, maybe I shouldn't have thrown shade at Ben's rapping. He crashed your shit. Yeah, I think so. He was like, whoa. Jewish man is one thing, but Indian man. Jewish, oh my God, guys. Sorry. When the computer goes, I freak out. You had the joke was there. Jesus Christ.
Out, you know, what is hate speech? What is anti-Semitism? And how do you balance that?
Well, the general bias of the platform is in favor of free speech. And I think at the end of the day, free speech wins in that if somebody says something that's false, it's especially on our platform, you can then reply to it with the correction. And then I'm a huge fan of community notes.
Exactly.
We put.
So if that's the case, then there should have been no reason for it to be unshareable on Twitter. Those two things don't match. If there's no reason for the New York Post to be shut down, then there's no there's no risk of the posts of the New York Post to be shut down. Can't have your cake and eat it too.
Maximum resources and attention behind community notes. So if somebody tries to push a falsehood like Holocaust denial or something like that, they can immediately be corrected. And you can't.
What do you guys think about the community notes? In general, like I think the first thing we really saw out of that type of thing was the fact checkers on Facebook, and that was just BS. But I actually like the way that community notes are being used, and I think that it does kind of give the context that I think was intended by the original fact checkers. But because it's community notes, it works out a little better. Fact checking the fact checkers.
Get rid of the tag. It's like stuck on you. So.
Come on, baby. What are we doing?
I think and the overarching goal for the X platform is to be the best source of truth.
The only reason there was anything unclear about anything is because the government got in the way and made it shady. That is why it wasn't clear. That is why it wasn't clear.
In the world. So now, one can. It's difficult to get to perfect truth, and sometimes people have different interpretations of truth. But one can always aspire to be as accurate as possible and to minimize the error between what is being said and reality.
So, like, why couldn't we just have community notes on the post of the Hunter Biden laptop story? Well, this might not be credible, but it's reported at the New York Post as being credible. Problem solved. Problem solved. Instead of shutting down people's free speech.
So, relentless pursuit of the truth is the goal with X. And allowing people to say what they want to say, even if it's controversial, provided that it does not break the law. I think that's the right thing to do.
And setting the new standard for the town square, as I say, has allowed for more speech and more availability of information than ever before, certainly on the platform. You recently didn't just go here. Obviously, after October 7th, you went to Israel and you saw the wages of horrific anti-Semitism in the various kibbutzim and moshavim.
I saw all the videos. I saw a lot of video. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was shocking to see.
Oh, come on. All right. I think I'm just going to do it now. I'm just going to try. Instead of muscling through this, we'll take 2 minutes and we'll do a little Q&A. And I'll restart everything and we will be good. And if you're on the replay, gang, you can just fast forward 30 seconds and we will be right back. All right, hold on here. Just going to pop in on my phone. Ask me anything. All right. There we go. Make sure we're good. Restart. Okay. So, what is going on? So yeah, I mean, specifically with the Twitter thing and the laptop story, I just don't see any way that if something is being reported, by a news agency, that at that point, if it was just some person who said that we have Hunter Biden's laptop, then I completely understand what you're saying. But the fact that it is reported is the news. It said, no, it was shady and wasn't clearly above board because it was shared to the New York Post through Rudy Giuliani, who said he got it from some random repair guy in New Jersey, largely the same way hacked materials were shared in 2016. Even still, that is the news. That is the news. So, like, what happened? Like, let's say the New York Post or any newspaper, the New York Times, whatever, they God damn it, they report that Joe Biden has passed away. Joe Biden has passed away, and that's not true. Should we not be able to go on Twitter and be like, wow, look at this article that the New York Post or whoever put out? It's clearly not true. It's clearly not true. Let's talk about that. I don't understand why that's why that's not something we should be able to do. And especially when we turn around and see that that the laptop was legitimate, then I don't know how you can go back in time and be like, well, we didn't know then, and so it should have been, when it couldn't have been fake because it was real. All right, hold on, I'm popping back in here. All right. All right. Thank you guys for sticking with me there. David is saying there were other sources reporting on it that weren't blocked. The New York Post story was blocked because you could download the contents which weren't clearly legally obtained. I mean that again, that goes, I don't know how that so you're saying specifically within the article that the materials themselves, not the reporting of the article. Where the hell am I going? Sorry guys. I got this. We got this. Come on. You gotta be kidding me.
I think.
All right. We got this. I'll let this play a little bit.
In favor of free speech. And I think at the end of the day, free
Let me just set everything back up here and we'll dive back in.
speech wins in that if somebody says something that's false, especially on our platform, you can then reply to it with the correction. And then I'm a huge fan of community notes. We've put maximum resources and attention behind community notes. So if somebody tries to push a falsehood like Holocaust denial or something like that, they can immediately be corrected. And you can't get rid of the tag. It's like stuck on you. So I think it's, and the overarching goal for the X platform is to be the best source of truth in the world. So now. And
I think an important part of that too is about being a bastion of truth. It requires us to be allowed to say things that aren't true, that aren't good, that aren't helpful, in order to have other people then say, well, that's wrong because of this. And that's how we know that one idea is better than the other, because they've been pushed up against each other. So it suggests the content of the laptop was downloadable through that link, and there was significant internal deliberation as to whether to leave a link up to potentially hacked materials. That's the first time I'm hearing of that. So if that's the case, then I've been woefully misinformed. But I don't know about that. So I'll take your word for it on that, just because I don't want to get into a whole thing about the laptop. But I would have to look more into that. If that.
One can. It's difficult to get to perfect truth, and sometimes people have different interpretations of truth. But one can always aspire to be as accurate as possible and to minimize the error between what is being said.
All right. Well, if you're on Instagram, I lost the thing, and they're terrible with it. So if you're chatting, then I cannot see it. But I appreciate you being here.
And reality.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm always willing to be like, okay, maybe there's information that I didn't know that I didn't have. But this is I think it's just, without looking that up, it just seems like everybody would say, oh, the reason that, it was okay to do that was because of the downloadable materials, not the reporting of the incident. And I didn't hear that. So again, I could be wrong. I could be ignorant, but I don't know.
Relentless pursuit of the truth is the goal with X, and allowing people to say what they want to say, even if it's controversial, provided that it does not break the law. I think that's the right thing to do.
And setting the new standard for the town square, as I say, has allowed for more speech and more availability of information than ever before, certainly on the platform. You recently didn't just go here. Obviously, after October 7th, you went to Israel and you saw the wages of horrific anti-Semitism in the various kibbutzim and moshavim.
I saw all the videos. I saw
All right, this is
a lot of video. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was shocking to see. I think maybe the most shocking thing was to see the delight in killing innocent people, like the delight in killing kids and defenseless women and men. And
yeah, I mean that there's so many horrible things about any type of genocide or any just violence in general. But yeah, the delight, the fact that you, even if it's not directly like, yes, I'm so happy that we're ending this person's life. But if you're going, you're going through this and believing that you're doing something good through the death of other people, that's horrible. That's horrible. Culture Pop says, that's the good thing about forums like this show and mine. Come and discuss, exchange ideas. We are all in the same boat anyhow. Exactly.
there was no remorse, quite the opposite. I mean, that requires a level of indoctrination that is extremely intense.
Might you say dogmatic?
So I think that to solve that, you have to address the source of the indoctrination, because no one should ever be glad about killing some child.
Is that is that a controversial thing to say? We don't want anybody to relish in the death of anybody, and especially children. And we see, we obviously this stuff is all going to be connected to what's going on in the Middle East, and the fervor with what some people have. It doesn't. And again, I'm not in that context. I don't live there. I don't have Jewish or Israeli or Palestinian heritage or anything like that. So just looking at it as an outsider, an American at that, it just seems like there's so much fervor in not just getting it done in terms of getting freedom, but it's further than that. It's trying to manifest some again dogmatic happening that this was meant to be by God's name. It's scary.
I know enormous number of Jews, myself included, are very moved that you continue to wear the necklace in remembrance of the hostages. So I want to thank you for that, obviously, because raising the profile of the fact there's still dozens of men, women, and children.
I checked before I came.
I want to point out that in so many other circles, politically speaking, that would be a round of clapter right there, and the fact that people are here not doing that, it means that they're clearly listening more than they are trying to I don't know what it is when people go to these things just to get their own ideas reinforced. The little things like that really show.
So many hostages. I hope they're alive. I hope they come back.
Hey, shout out to Mood. Welcome to the party. What is good? We are talking with Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro at the European Jewish Association.
So let's talk about the uptick in anti-Semitism more broadly. One of the things that's been hard to watch as a Jew, but also just as an American and a Westerner, has been the radical.
I agree. It's been hard to watch as not a Jew and as an American. It's just like, whoa, what? Y'all be thinking like this? Yeah, might be a little bit more of a sober tone, but we are still a party. Don't forget it. We can learn and we can talk about dark shit without preventing the foremost purpose of us coming here is to hanging out and have a good time. Welcome.
Upsurge in anti-Semitic activity, just generally anti-Semitic sentiment, appallingly after October 7th. It's been astonishing, actually.
Yes, and I must admit to being somewhat, frankly, naive about this.
Me too.
In the circles that I move, I see almost no anti-Semitism. And there's this old
in before the comment when someone says, yeah, that's because all your millionaire, billionaire friends are Jewish. I gotcha.
joke. I've got like this one Jewish friend. No, I have like 2/3 of my friends are Jewish. Okay. I have twice as many Jewish friends as non-Jewish friends. I'm like Jewish by association. I'm aspirationally Jewish. So I don't, I was like, what are people talking about with this anti-Semitism? Because I never hear it when at dinner conversations. It's like an absurdity, at least in my friend circles. But when, looking at the pro-Hamas rallies in vast numbers that took place in almost every major city in the West, blew my mind. And including on the elite college campuses that are supposed to be, if you're an elite college campus, you're supposed to be enlightened. And you're not supposed to be fostered.
And we see that even on the colleges campuses that are supposed to be enlightened, that's where you see the worst and the most twisted iterations of these ideas, where it's like, I don't think you actually think that. Moon is saying anti-Zionism, sure. Anti-Semitism, I know things have been heated. Sure. I'm sure college is rough. I mean, okay. So how are you using what is the differentiation there between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism? Because I don't know if I know specifically. Like, I get the concept, how they're different, but I'm not sure if I could spot how that would be different. This is how foreign this shit is to me.
During hate. And yet you had these pro-Hamas demonstrations at...
Nah, bro. I don't... Yeah. I see a lot of anti-Semitism. I see a lot. I mean, I see a lot of anti-Zionism as well, but there's not... It's never about... Not never. It's just a lack of... It's trying to be for the Palestinian people, which I get that. But it's putting the Palestinian people so much higher above Israelis that it's like you're by virtue you're saying that they are that they are lesser than. So and that's just what I've seen outside of the Israel-Palestine conversation as well, been popping up. On the Tom McDonald song with Ben Shapiro. That song was not about Israel. That song was not about anything about that. But all the comments on everything was, they got to you or something. And I'm like, I had to Google what that meant. And it means, the Jews got you and now you work for them. That is anti-Semitism. Am I wrong? Maybe that's what we're calling anti-Zionism. But that is, I think, textbook anti-Semitism.
Harvard, Yale, including I went to UPenn at Penn, and I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the other thing too about the hearings with the presidents from there was the black woman from Harvard, it was the blonde woman from I think Stanford, and I remember my first instinct was to be like, well, of course, these people should be able to say on a college campus whatever they want as long as they are not directly inciting violence. And so from the river, to the rest of it, I was like, you absolutely should be allowed to say that. Then I was like, hold on a minute. And actually, somebody else was like, that I understand your sentiment of free speech, but the fact is that's not how it works on college campuses. You can't say anything against a group of people. I don't think you should, but you should be allowed to. And they, they stifle that as racism, homophobia, transphobia, whatever else, unless you're Asian or white. And so I was like, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. We can't, if we've set the standard that none of these are okay, but we say that it's okay when we talk about Jews, that's yikes. Culture Pop would be hot. Says, I'm no shill for Israel, but it's frightening to see these uninformed ass kids out here praising bin Laden and wanting to end all the Jews. Yeah, now that's the thing that maybe it is younger kids. It's people who don't know, like they think that the Palestinian, Israeli-Palestinian history began on October 7th, this past year. Maybe it's something in that, but yeah, see, bro, it's wild. It's wild. I wasn't specifically talking about praising bin Laden, but yeah, just openly saying, yeah, we need to get rid of all of them. This kind of type. Obviously, I don't want to say it out aloud, but definitely come through the after party to check out what I can't say here. Mood said, I was in Israel 1 year ago. No one is against the Jewish race, but they are against an apartheid state. So yeah, I think in the region, it's a lot more fair to say it's anti-Zionism because it is about my home and your people coming into my land. That. But when we have American or American Jews specifically that then go to Americans with Palestinian, it gets sus. It gets sus because exactly when it goes to a certain level, then it's not anti-Zionism anymore. And say what you will about the conflict, but you should be allowed to have the opinion that either Israel shouldn't exist or any of those things. But that's not the same as saying bin Laden was great, saying that you were happy that Hamas did this, you agree with Hamas, you ride for Hamas, all of that stuff. Culture Pop said colleges, universities, and schools in general are just drone factories at that point. Yep. A shout out to Soil to So. Welcome to the party. Our winner of last month's Word of the Day contest going on in Discord. Definitely join to be part of that good stuff.
At Penn, and I was like, this is unbelievable.
I mean, there's a poll recently from Harvard-Harris showing that some 67% people aged 18 to 24 said that the Jews were an oppressor class. Which, in America, Jews represent approximately 7 million Jews in the United States.
What is that, like, I think 13%? Is that or even less, right?
Out of 330 million Americans, tiny percentage of the population. But that ideology, that the Jews are an oppressor class, matches up very nicely and very closely with what is a conspiracy theory. At root, anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory, and it's a conspiracy theory about power. And if you read Nazi literature, the Nazis literally promoted the idea that Jews were, of course, this small caste of people who were running all of the major industries, who were standing behind all world power. Hitler's suggestion is that it was world Jewry that stood behind Germany's loss in World War I, and then the Allies' unwillingness to make a deal with Germany prior to World War II.
Crazy. Mood says, like, what is anyone saying related to Jewish faith or ethnicity? I've only heard criticism of Israeli government action and singling out shitty settler actions. Like, nothing except that they should die. Like, nothing that they should die, or that Tom McDonald puts out a song with Ben Shapiro and it's, oh, they've got to you. Like, what does that? What? I don't, and again, I wish I understood it better to be able to articulate it. I don't get it. Shout out to Virgil Kane all the way over from Manchester, England. Welcome to the party. We also got David Banner here. Said, how are we sure how many Jews are in America? I'm curious because you don't have to disclose religion in a census. I would imagine that they have, it's not from the census itself. They probably have other studies that do specifically ask about religion, and that's how the biggest block of religion in America became nuns, because from the survey question, what religion do you follow? None. David said, I think Ben's statement about an oppressor class is true in Israel, but it doesn't justify the actions of Hamas. And again, I don't necessarily want to get into the whole thing. I think that's a fair, I think that's a fair position to have. I don't necessarily, use that kind of language. So I wouldn't necessarily put it in those terms. I do obviously, see that there's been on both sides of the conflict, people doing some shit, but absolutely nothing justifies the actions of Hamas. Mood says Jewish is in the ethnicity too. Yep.
And that theory of power and group identity is really ugly, and we see echoes of it today. I mean, the diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology that basically suggests that all of society is a vast pyramid of group identity, and that at the very top are the people who are successful, and that those people are exploiting everybody else. And we can tell who's successful by their group identity, not by their level of success, by their group identity.
Yes.
That matches up incredibly. It syncs up almost a Venn diagram circle with anti-Semitism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's never, like Mood was asking, like, what are people saying? And there's not really any reasoning there. They're just like, oh, well, did you know how many of them are in Hollywood? Did you know how many of them won the Nobel Peace Prize? It's like, okay, and what are you trying to say that means? I just don't get it. Shout out to M169, said it's not worth understanding. Welcome to the party. Joe Mama said Palestinians are actually Semitic. Interesting statement. Welcome to the party, Joe Mama. So the son said, if your mother is Jewish, you're considered an ethnic Jew or something like that. I admit ignorance. Yeah, that's the irony is that there's so much anti-Semitism around, but we're all like, wait, what is it? What's going on? And that's really the question that I have out there is how is there so much of it out there? And so many of us from different walks of politics are all really not sure what it even is. Good one. Yeah, none of us really understand what the hell is even going on. How is that possible? Culture Pop says, I can't throw too much shade at any religion. There are Christian snake handlers here in North Carolina. Well, I can throw a shade at every religion because they are all stupid. Equally. Actually, no, they're not equally stupid. They're definitely not equally stupid, but I throw shade at them all. Fuck violence, fuck religion, fuck apartheid, fuck hate, love everybody. I could say dilly to that. Yeah, man, just love, baby. It's just love.
Incredibly, it syncs up almost a Venn diagram circle with anti-Semitism.
Absolutely. The diversity and actually inclusion, should always be.
I like DIE, the die cult.
Wary of any name that sounds like it could come out of a George Orwell book. Okay. That's never a good sign. Because it sounds like, sure, diversity, equity, inclusion, these all sound like nice words.
That's why they use them. Instead of using racism, communism, and compliance, which would be exactly the same thing. They use diversity, equity, inclusion.
But what it really means is discrimination on the basis of race, sex, and sexual orientation, and it's against merit, and thus I think is fundamentally anti-Semitic.
Okay, I think he missed a step there, but he's saying it's anti-meritocratic, so it's fundamentally anti-Semitic. I think he means that because of the fact that there does happen to be an overrepresentation in like the money, whatever, and in movies and stuff. I think that's what he means, but I'm not sure. So the Soul said, yeah, they had to rearrange the letters, didn't they? Yep. Culture Pop said, doublespeak, just like Orwell wrote in 1984. Bingo. It's all coming true. 1984 and Idiocracy melted into one thing. That is America 2024.
So,
it's always interesting how different Elon can be in terms of how he's talking. I remember when he was on Joe Rogan, and he was very much like, and I was watching on 2x speed, and it was still like, is something broken? Is he paused? I think that, and very weird, but we've heard him in other contexts, especially like on Twitter Spaces, where he just talks like a normal person. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher whenever he talks like this.
I think the whole all of the riots that were in the major cities and college campuses. I think
summer of love, baby, summer of love. What's wrong with DEI? Isn't it just equity in the workplace? Well, it's not just equity in the workplace, but equity in the workplace is bad because that's not meritocratic. People who work harder and are better should be rewarded more for what they do. So diversity is racism, equity is communism, and inclusion is conformity. They don't want you to. That's all it is. They want everybody to be exactly the same. You can have different colors. That's the diversity part. You can have different activities, but everybody has to be the same. That's the equity part. And the inclusion is that, oh, you're not allowed to not be part of this. It's not a nice thing. It's a mode of control, and they've specifically said as much. Culture Pop said, I think he may be autistic, at least on the spectrum, as it were. I think that's I'm pretty sure that's like a fact, like a known fact. Musk on the spectrum. I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, mild form of Asperger's. Culture Pop said, if Lutch is a better dog trainer than me, he should get a job over me based on his skill, not his race. Exactly. Where did I hear that? The dictionary. What do you think? We see what diversity has meant with all the way back to affirmative action. Exactly. Yeah. But it's more than that. So it's affirmative action on steroids, plus the idea that you can't, that working hard doesn't get you any better, because we have to all be equal at the end, not have the equal opportunity to do what we want. And inclusion, again, meaning that you have to conform to what we want. So the Soul said, say what you want, but we damn sure have to have one of the most fascinating timelines at this point. The old Chinese curse of may you live in interesting times is real. Yeah. That's as of 2015. As of 2015.
All of the riots that were in the major cities and college campuses, I think, was a shocking wake-up call to.
Yup.
I think
many people, myself included. But before that summer, I was still like, I did not vote for Trump in 2020. I was not okay with being called a conservative in 2020. I was still looking at what, just looking at any opportunity to be like, look, Trump bad in 2020. And then everything happened, and I was just like, I can't do that anymore. That does not align with reality. Unfortunately, I was wrong.
Sort of civilization or civil-minded person, really.
Yeah. So let's oh shit. Specifically, let's see if somebody has something. But equity. The problem with equity is instead of the equal opportunity that everybody should be able to apply to this job, regardless of how tall you are, what your skin color is, what your gender is, if you have a disability, any of those things. Everybody should have the equal opportunity under the law to do whatever it is that they want. Equity is the government making sure that everybody at the end is equal, despite if you didn't work or if you worked your ass off, despite if you're stupid or if you're a genius. Everybody ends up at the same point. So we're equal in equality of outcomes. So the equity versus equality. Equality is the sameness in our opportunity. Equity is the sameness in the outcome. So if I'm going to be in the same place in society, no matter what I do or don't do, then I ain't doing shit. Shout out to Pump Me Up over on Kick. He wants me to flash. All right, I'll give you one. Boop. You got one. Shout out to Pump Me Up over on Kick. You got a titty. Yeah, and so we just do not want. We don't want society to be run that way, because we want the people who are better at stuff to be more compensated, so that the best shit rises to the top. Whether it's medicine, whether it's dog training, whether it's TV, whether anything. Thank you, Pump Me Up. Unfortunately, I can't pull the chats up through StreamYard just yet. Hopefully, they are working on that. But I see you and I love you over there. Moon says, I've never heard that you need equal parts of all races for a company. Like, that's not true. I agree. Affirmative action is meant for employers to ignore race. Since its inception, it has helped. Is that white? Is that supposed to say white? You could just type white. It definitely has helped white women, but it's supposed to help black people, and it did. It made it like so you've never heard of this notion that if you are an affirmative action or a diversity hire, that people are going to, one, think that you don't deserve the job, and two, as that person, you will never know if you actually earned that job on your merit or just your skin color. Hey, shout out to Culture Pop with B Hop with the 4.99 super chat. And of course, every single donation comes with a treat for my co-host Morty. Thank you, thank you, thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Said Layla and Kiara want their boo to have a treat, and a treat he did indeed have. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Shock.
Now, the crossover between some of these rallies on college campuses in favor of Hamas. I mean, they unite the weirdest coalitions maybe in human history. You'll see LGBTQ flags in favor of Hamas, where, of course, if an LGBTQ person were to be actually in the Gaza Strip, they would no longer be in the Gaza Strip. They would be dead.
Yes, exactly.
And that coalition is...
That's like seriously out of touch.
Yeah.
That's a very Elon way to say it. That's like seriously out of touch. I mean, understatement of the century. Culture Pro said there's something larger at play that's trying to demoralize us as a people. There are levels to this shit, and we haven't even considered yet. Exactly. Listen, I understand you want meritocracy, but how has affirmative action or DEI not facilitated meritocracy? Because it's the exact opposite. It is the exact opposite. It is saying instead of hiring somebody on their merit, we are going to forego merit and make sure that somebody is a certain color. That is not meritocracy. That is the opposite. I mean, it helped black people get jobs. It definitely helped black people get jobs. But the problem is that when you're a diversity hire, number one, everybody else is going to assume that you didn't deserve the job on your merits. You only got the job because of your skin color. And two, as the black person who gets hired somewhere, you will never be able to know whether you were hired on your merit or you were just a diversity hire, which is not a fair thing. I think people should be able to have I think part of the pursuit of happiness has to do with your purpose in life, what you do for a living, all that kind of stuff. Mood says, I agree with that issue. That is a big criticism of CRT, positive with affirmative action, actually. Yeah. Exactly. But that's not the definition of DEI I'm hearing. So what are they lying about? Everything, brother. Everything. What are they not lying about? I mean, they're not lying about the fact that they, when they say you'll own nothing and be happy, they legitimately want to get rid of the idea of personal property. They want everything to be owned by the government, and then they dole it out to you. The 15-minute cities. They want to be able to. It's not a luxury. I mean, it might have convenience, but the idea of everything that you need is just in this little pod is a form of control. And when even if it's not saying you have to stay within this 15-minute city, but it's really hard to get to the next pod city because there's only one taxi for the entire state because nobody leaves their pod neighborhood. And you can't travel anymore. From the World Economic Forum, my friend. Just check out. I mean, let's just go to the first thing. Let's just Google World Economic Forum. Let's just see what is the first thing that they on their own website. Let's see what they have here. Let's dive in here. Oh, a Davos meeting. Okay, let's see what we were doing at Davos. Country and hype. They're also serious. So AI. Okay. Oh, much of the world is still disconnected. I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly where everything is. But this is they are specifically talking about this stuff. So let's see if we can 15-minute cities. Oh, convenient. Good man. Yeah, ESG is the other side of that. ESG and DEI are the main ones that you need to be paying attention to.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, based on where you're based on the world, and welcome to this session, to our dialogue on the 15-minute city. My name is Carlo Ratti. I'm professor at MIT. We run a lab called Sensible City Lab. And today we'll talk about the 15-minute city together with Sally Capp,
Got that.
Lord Mayor.
Oh, this is whole. Oh, damn! I thought this was just a short video. I'm not going through this whole thing, but yeah, I mean, this idea of what are 15-minute cities and this whole thing. So basically, which is a new model for developing mixed-use, walkable communities known as 15-minute city is gathering momentum in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. How does the model work? And da 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 da. So, you know, we see that BlackRock and Vanguard is buying up all the land and the property and the real estate, and you won't be able to own anything. And they want you to have to be subservient to them in order to have anything. So M169 said, look up Agenda 2030. So it says, transforming our world, the 2030 agenda for a sustainable development. The preamble. This should actually leave that up. So in case anybody pops in, that's what we're looking at. The agenda, this agenda is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. It also seeks to strengthen universal peace and larger freedom. We recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. Because if you get rid of, there's always going to be people at the bottom. There's always going to be people at the bottom as long as we are in a meritocratic society. So getting rid of poverty in general is, again, it sounds good, but that entails taking from people who earned stuff and giving it to people who didn't. All countries and stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership will implement this plan. So a global thing by private stakeholders. We resolve to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want to heal and secure our planet. We are determined to take the bold and transformative steps which are urgently needed to shift the world into a sustainable and resilient path. As we embark on this collective journey, we pledge that no one will be left behind. No one left behind. That sounds a little bit familiar. Almost like there was a thing for schools that was supposed to make schools better called No Child Left Behind. And that created a way for all kids to be doing bad in school. That's what we're doing right now. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but let's just go. So people, we are determined to end poverty and hunger in all its forms and dimensions to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. We are determined to protect the planet from degradation. The planet's not going anywhere, including through sustainable consumption production, meaning here's more stuff that you can't have. We're determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives, even if they don't work for it. And on and on and on and on. So yeah, I mean, it's again using flowery, nice language like Antifa. We're anti-fascist. Don't worry about the fact that we use fascistic tendencies. All that stuff. All the stuff. Yeah, boom. The eradication of poverty by making everyone poor together. Bingo. There you go. Exactly. And that's why the reason it isn't scary is because you're taking it at face value. When they say, "Oh, we want to eradicate poverty," you're like, "Oh, that means getting rid of the fact that people don't have money." But this is the only way to create that circumstance is when everybody has nothing. So you have to read between the lines. Yeah, utopia sounds good too until you realize it isn't possible. Sustainability means eliminating undesirables. Exactly. And you got to eat the bugs. Yep, meet once a year on your birthday. All that kind of stuff. Mood said No Child Behind was literally just setting federal minimum requirements for education. Yeah, and look how that turned out. Just that thing. And now they want to do that for everything in every industry across the globe. I think we agree. Yup.
Be actually in the Gaza Strip, they would no longer be in the Gaza Strip. They would be dead.
Yes, exactly.
And that coalition is...
That's like seriously out of touch.
Yeah.
But
it isn't. But it only isn't out of touch in the sense that there is a coalitional idea here
Yeah.
that basically power structures must be torn down at all costs. And if that means allying with people who hate me, then I'll ally with people who hate me. And the fact that that's grown in fervor since October 7th really is, as I said to me on a personal level, quite shocking. What do you make of the future of a West if the West continues to embrace that idea?
Shout out to Mike W. Welcome to the party. Said I'm not a Christian, but the Bible says the poor you will always the poor you will always have. True. Yep. Unless we all have nothing, and then we're equally rich. Richard said, one of Elon's rockets passed over my house in Manchester, England. I complained about the noise to NASA, and they said, bug us again, and we'll have you whacked. That you got to go to SpaceX, bro. Come on, man.
Well, I think we really need to stop this principle that the weaker, normally weaker party is always right. This is simply not true.
Right.
If you are in quotes oppressed or the weaker party, it doesn't mean you're right. Because
often it means you're wrong. Often you are in a situation of there's somebody above you because you were wrong. Now, more modern history, that's not necessarily the case, but I'm talking, the entirety of human history. Shout out to Animal Instinct. Welcome to the party. Said it's scary how DEI is even happening for pilots. Imagine trusting someone flying your plane who had lower testing standards. Exactly. And so Tim Pool did a great piece on this about when Charlie Kirk was saying, now because of DEI, now I have to think about the race of my pilot, and that's something that I never thought about before. But now, if I see a black pilot, I have to know, or I have to question whether they were hired because of DEI or because they scored high enough. And again, people were trying to say, like, oh, well, they're not going to let somebody fly who doesn't pass. Like, okay, well, what is passing? Is passing 70%? So then we have a white guy who's got a 99 and a black guy who got a 70. Well, they both passed. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, I mean, believe all women. No Child Left Behind, Me Too. All these things have all these trends that they're all bad. They're all bad. Moon said again, my only issue with our education is a huge lack of funding and conservatives banning good literature because it's icky. I'll just put out that second part. But the idea that we are not giving the funding is that if you lower the scores and allow kids to pass, then you don't need the funding. And it's, that's what the government says. And so instead of, nobody said black pilots have lower testing standards, but white and black pilots will score lesser than other white and black pilots. So if we have a white guy who got a 99 and we got a black guy who got a 70, then the guy who got the 70 is more likely now to be hired when the guy with the 99% should be hired. And I didn't even say what he said yet. This is, I think we got a comment of the night. I didn't even say what he said yet, but it's already racist. Oh man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I didn't even say it yet, and it's racist. That's hilarious. Can I just bake in this for just 1 second? Ooh. Yeah. It's just, there's definitely a lack of funding. I don't think that's directly tied to any of that. But yeah, the fact is that when you try to make everybody the same, the only way to do that is to get the people at the top to be as bad as the people at the bottom, because the people at the bottom are already doing their best at a shitty thing. That's the only way equity works as a concept.
if you are in quotes oppressed or the weaker party, it doesn't mean you're right. Because if some of those, weaker groups want to annihilate you, that does not make them good. We have to get rid of the rule that if you're weaker, you're automatically good.
Okay, so but yeah, that's not what anybody said. So first of all, Animal Instinct said it's scary how it is happening for pilots. Imagine trusting someone flying your plane who has lower testing standards. How is it racist to say that I want somebody who got a 99 more than somebody who got a 70? How is that racist? That is not racist. I would prefer that the black guy who got the 99% over the white guy who got the 70. It's not about the race. I know that you guys have an inability to take anything outside of the realm of race, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the number. The number. That's what we're talking about. And what I was going to say before you said it was racist was that, again, the idea that the testing scores can be a range, and you don't know when you look at these when you look at the pilot and you see somebody who is black, you should not be thinking, oh no, I'm worried about this. But because they have put this idea that, well, you know that the white guys definitely had to pass. You know that the Asian definitely had to pass. But a black one, you don't know. That is what DEI does. That's what this does. It creates racism. It's not Tim Pool. It's not Charlie Kirk who's created racism. It is the left, and is the cultural idea that we need to focus incessantly on race and immutable characteristics instead of the merit of what people do that has created racism. Thank you for reminding me. Mike said, we need to handle this like professional sports. They care less about your color and only your performance. Exactly. What's not what minimum requirement means? You're not yapping too much. You're good. But minimum requirement, meaning the if the requirement is 70% and you pass 70%, then you've met the minimum requirements. That doesn't mean you've passed with flying colors. Hey, shout out to Music the Lift. Welcome to the party. Said I'm late at this gathering, but Jesus, my savior. Where are you on the political compass? So I am, I definitely lean more right, but I think it's more relevant that I am very far into the libertarian versus authoritarian quadrant. There you go. So I think it was almost dead center, but a little bit to the right, and then very far. I forget if authoritarian is at the top or if libertarian is at the top, but either way, to the libertarian side. Welcome to the party. Culture Pop said, we aren't talking about a fucking tree trimmer. We are talking about jobs where my life is in someone else's hands. It's my right to discriminate in that case. There you go. Yeah, so it was the left who began banning literature because of true. Now I need to care about the race of my pilot, even though they are all certified and trained. Yes, because you have created a circumstance where based on color, you are going to treat them differently. So if you treat them differently, then now I have to wonder, did you hire this person because they're black, or did you hire this person because they did the job well? That is what DEI does. Shout out to AKA 182. Same thing. I wouldn't want a surgeon who's selected by DEI or affirmative action or any of this stuff. This is not a new idea that diversity hires are not good for the industry at large, whatever the industry might be. We need to focus on merit. This is why we need to bring more people who are not religious into our movement. They don't understand the value of merit. And if the only way you can talk about merit is to say God, then you fucked up. This is why we need to leave religion out of our politics, even if that's why you have your politics. Because when we talk to people who have different opinions, we need to be able to speak to them on their terms. And think of what would this conversation be if I was just saying to Mood, well, God said this and God said that. He'd be like, oh, all right, this fucking idiot. I don't need to listen to him. Virgil said, I'm a skint living in a tent in a shop doorway here in Manchester. So I guess Tallulah wouldn't fancy me. Who's Tallulah? What did I miss? Moon said minimum means Texas can't skip over civil rights in high school. Agreed. I'm referring to NCLB. Good students aren't held back because the school is required to meet standards. I don't know what NCLB is, but maybe you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Yeah, I'll let you. I'll let you handle that. So my answer is that black people are just not. Jesus fucking Christ! What did I just say? If there's a black pilot who has a 99% and a white pilot who has a 70%, which one did I say that I would want? The black one. Because I don't care about the skin color. That is the fucking point. I didn't care about the skin color until you said, well, white guys, you got to be on merit. Black guys, well, we'll give you a little wiggle room. When you say that, you give me a legitimate non-racist reason to focus on the race of my pilot. Yes, that is what has happened. And no, my answer is not that black people are just naturally bad pilots. I don't believe that you think that is the position. I'm going to assume this is Cope, and we are going to move on. Mike said, are we going to pick our pilot on the shade of his blackness also? I mean, not yet, but wouldn't be surprised.
We
Darker you are, the darker you are, the more points you get on your final exam.
have to get rid of the rule that
Mood, because before, anybody who was a pilot, regardless of their race, had to meet the same standard. That was if you're in that pilot seat, regardless of your gender, color, sexuality, whatever, I know that you had to pass the test. Now, there you go, Mike. Now that's not the case. That's not the case. I don't know that the person who's in the pilot seat did better than the person who's in the co-pilot seat. I don't know that because you, not you specifically, but they have changed the landscape. It's not my fault that you said, well, we're going to treat you're going to treat black people differently, and I'm racist. What? How does that make sense? So why are black pilots not represented before this policy? Because maybe black pilots didn't want to be fucking pilots, bro. I don't know. How many black people do you know who are looking to be pilots? I've definitely had black pilots before. And not having to answer this question does not in any way negate anything that I've said. Just to put that on there. And one thing said, DEI isn't just about race. They want to force more female pilots too, and aren't holding to the same standards. Yep, they're doing it in the military as well. Like this, it's scary because at this point, if you don't know like what even the issue we have with it is, oh, you're just racist. If that's legitimately your best approximation of what people think, then that is scary. That's scary that you can't understand anything besides your own opinion.
That if you're weaker, you're automatically good. That's obviously makes no sense. It often makes sense. Whereas like, okay, you don't want to beat up on someone smaller and weaker than you. But if that smaller group wants to kill you, they're bad. Okay.
Yep.
I'm a big believer in moral absolutism, not moral relativism. There's good and bad in the absolute. And you judge.
So you were definitely saying that we should not have any minimum requirements for anything, right? That was your point? I'm not even reading what you're saying, and I already know that this is a straw man.
Any group or individual against absolute moral standards, not whether they're the so-called oppressed or oppressor, just on absolute moral terms. Are they doing good things? Do they want to murder innocent people? That's bad. It doesn't matter who they are.
You would think, but the pseudo-sophisticates on college campus seem to think differently. And so I wanted to get your take on why you think this is so prevalent on college campuses. What do you think the future of the universities in the United States looks like, given the fact that entire universities appear to have been corrupted by moral relativism and this sort of perverse ideology? Do you think that a wave of change is coming to the universities? Do you think that there's going to be direct hiring out of high school? What is the solution for universities in the United States as well as abroad?
We need more white basketball players.
I think we need to return to where things were, or mostly were, which is a focus on merit, and it doesn't matter whether you're a man, woman, what race you are, what beliefs you have. What matters is,
are you good at what we need you to be good at? If we're talking about, that's it. That's it. Are you good enough at the thing I need you to be good at? That's it.
you know, how good are you at your job, or what are your skills? You know, you could be a three-legged green.
Thanks for hanging out, brother. You have a good one. Hope you feel better. Hope you feel better.
Martian, you know, wears a kimono and drinks yak milk. Who cares? Doesn't matter. You know, what matters is like how good is your work.
Bingo.
That's it.
Yeah, and so I'm here trying to make it more flowery, but it's just that simple. How good is your work? That's it. That's it. We should not at all be thinking about the race of a pilot. We have the laws in place that any black person who wants to apply to be a pilot can go through all of the same things that any white person can. There are no blockades for black people to get into pilot school. Now, if you want to argue that there's different starting points, then I will say, yes, that's life. And again, that goes back to trying to create utopia. The only way to do that is to make sure that the best people are only as good as the worst. So if you want the worst of society to be the best of society, then this is the way you want to go. But if not, then what we're saying is the only way to go.
That's the least sort of racist, sexist you can be. Is just care about the work that somebody does and not anything else. That's what the focus needs to be to return to. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems as though you mentioned earlier the sort of problems of attacks on the meritocracy, and one of the claims is that there's no real meritocracy. There's a pseudo meritocracy, that basically all these institutions are run for the benefit of those who run the institutions, and it feels like there is some truth to the idea that institutions have lost credibility with the people, particularly in the West.
But that's only because of moving away from meritocracy.
In the backlash to that, I think that there's now, sort of an idea that if we do away with all institutions and all limits on moral behavior, then that somehow is better. But there needs to be a recapturing of the institutions, or at least a rebuilding in place of those institutions, new things. And that's something obviously that you're very focused on, not only with X, but your other companies, is building new things, innovation, trying to create our way out of the problems that we've created for ourselves.
So guys, really quick, before he goes down that road, I would be so happy. I would be so happy if we could have one of the YouTube emojis, like one of the, whether it's I don't know, pick a random one, and use that as our specific. Oh, they're not coming up like that anymore. Oh, but our specific thing to be in the chat, to one for like a W Lutch when you agree, and one for an L Lutch, which is like, nah, you're wrong. I think that would be fun. Pick it, and whoever gets the one that catches on, you get a free month membership to the channel.
Building new things, innovation, trying to create our way out of the problems that we've created for ourselves.
Yeah, I think generally people should always be wary that they may have either consciously or perhaps mostly subconsciously internalized the notion of a zero-sum game or a fixed pie. And if you internalize that everything's zero.
Okay, but if they are expanding who's accepted to their school, in what way is that not changing their hiring practices? Those are incompatible statements. Either they're not changing their hiring practices, or they're expanding who's accepted to their schools. Like, they say it, dude. Just Google it. Like, they say it. They say it. There's some truth to nepotism at least universities, sure. And of course, buying and donating in. But yeah, mostly the trust is dissolved due to the meritocracy falling apart. Yeah, I mean, we always knew that, you could buy your way in and you could be a Nepo baby, especially at the Ivy League schools. But the rest of it was supposedly meritocratic enough that it didn't matter.
Some meaning, like, in order for me to get ahead, someone else has to not get ahead, or for me to have stuff, someone else must not have stuff. If you have that axiomatic flaw, then that's what it needs to be done is to fix that axiomatic flaw, because it is false. It's not a zero-sum game. We can absolutely grow and have grown, and the evidence is overwhelming that we have grown the output of goods and services. We have many things today that we did not have in the past.
Yeah, there's this, maybe not an idea, but a notion or a sentiment that if somebody else is doing well, that is why, or that is connected to why I'm not doing well. And in order for me to do better, other people have to do worse. And that's just not that's just not how it works. And having that idea is going to harm the way that you navigate in life, and it's probably not going to work out for you.
We're far more prosperous. All of humanity is far more prosperous today than it was at times in the past. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where, we'd count a good year as one where, well, the bubonic plague wasn't that bad, only killed 10%. Not that many people starved through the winter. We only lost, 5% of our population due to raids from other tribes. Basically life used to be very rough in the old days. If they could see us now, they'd be like, what are you guys complaining about? This is amazing.
He's definitely right about that.
Not having to worry about food for, we were food constrained for, probably the last 100,000 years until recently. So, really the present day future is amazing compared to the past. And anyone who doesn't think it's amazing is not a good student of history. So I think we live in the most interesting of times and probably the best of times.
The best of times now that Guamtech is in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Always, always, always good to see ya. We are checking out Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro at the European Jewish Association. Have a little bit of side conversation about DEI and pilots, but they are definitely talking about DEI and all of that stuff. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Virgil said the bubonic plague was amazing. It was very, very good at being a plague. It was very, very good at being a plague. Bumtex said, I'm fucking pumped. Just made a big old sale. Hey, money, money, money. Dilly to that. There we go. And yeah, Gontek, I was just talking. I want to get an emoji for the channel. That just means W Lutch or L Lutch. We have one, and when I say something good, y'all just spam that shit. And when I say something bad, y'all just spam the other shit. Whoever gets the one that sticks gets a free month of membership. A free month of membership.
So I think we live in the most interesting of times and probably the best of times.
One of the things that I would hope that, and I think you're part of this, is a coalition of meritocrats standing up for the meritocracy is going to be deeply necessary in a future where trust has been fragmented.
Put a 1 in the chat if you stand up for meritocracy.
With so many institutions, we're going to have to stand up and loudly say that merit still exists and that merit is individually based, not based on innate characteristics of some sort. So you mentioned earlier, that you're aspirationally Jewish, that you surround yourself with, that you're surrounded by so many Jews. So are you part of the Jewish conspiracy? What exactly is the...
Maybe.
That'll please the haters online.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
No, I mean, I just...
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. So, Mood says, accepting someone to Harvard and someone graduating from Harvard are two different things. Having more pilots being trained to the exact same standards as used before is not racism. It's the opposite. Again, we've established how they're the passing grade. But let's just take the accepting someone to Harvard and graduating. So if we were to say that there is no change in the people that are graduating from Harvard, but they're letting in more people, accepting more people to Harvard. Number one, my question is why? And number two, it is very clearly even though it is a different thing, it has the same effect. It's more people who otherwise would not be able to graduate from Harvard are graduating from Harvard. The only way that is a good thing is if they deserve to graduate from Harvard in the first place. And our position is that they were not. If they were, they would have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action, DEI, any of that stuff. Oh my God. Sharing the wealth. I love it. Guam Tech with the $10 super chat. And of course, that gets a salmon recipe flavor for my boy Morty every single donation. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, I grew up around a lot of Jewish people. I went to Hebrew preschool, Rachel Shapiro in South Africa. My name is very Jewish.
I will tell you that for the past 10 years, people have assumed in my community that you're Jewish until I informed them otherwise.
Yeah.
Elon is pretty.
Shout out again to Quantech making that sale and sharing the wealth. Very much appreciated, brother. It is needed.
Jewish name.
He is super Jewish.
Yeah.
And then I went to Israel when I was 13. Visited Masada. I'm certainly checking the boxes on a lot of things.
Okay, but Moot, if they didn't change anything, then what is how is that helping Black people? If they didn't change anything, how is that helping Black people? Either they're changing things that doesn't do anything, or they're changing things that helps people who need extra help instead of just being meritocratically hired.
Like I said, most of my friends are Jewish. Just worked out that way. So sometimes I guess maybe I forget. Am I Jewish?
What? All right. I'm gonna pull. Who told you this? Who told you this? Where did you get this from? I would love to see any evidence that this is the case. Denied from being pilots. In what way? In what way?
I'm Jewish. Aspirationally Jewish.
So, when you hear critiques about X, right, about the amount of anti-Semitism on X, what are the metrics that you're seeing from the inside about the amount of anti-Semitism or quote unquote hate speech, because it's always a vaguely defined term, hate speech, on your platform?
Yeah, I mean, the outside audits that we've had done.
Yes, affirmative action. That would be the opposite of not allowing people to get hired.
At least the ones that we've had done show that there was the least amount of anti-Semitism on X.
And actually, real quick, just by you using the word force, the market should not be forced at all. There should be nothing in the market that is forced. So this is already bad, but it's still the opposite of what you said.
If you look at all the other social, it's never going to be zero. If you've got 600 million people on the platform, expecting it to be anything to be zero is extremely unlikely because you've got 600 million people on a platform. But when they compare us to Instagram, TikTok, TikTok's actually got a lot of anti-Semitism.
TikTok is pretty terrifying.
TikTok.
If people have not checked out TikTok.
Just because there are less people who of a certain race in an industry or a market does not make it racist. What's the phrase? Difference doesn't mean discrimination. Like, I also do not believe in allowing racism, but guess what this is? Allowing racism. Racism against white people is still, and Asians is still racism.
TikTok. I mean, the algorithm is absolutely pushing me toward pro-Hamas material.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
So I believe we have.
If you'd like to continue the airline discussion, that will be part of the after party. We're going to get back into the discussion here.
TikTok has like 5 times the amount of anti-Semitism per post than we do.
That does not surprise me at all. That does not surprise me at all. It is crazy. It is crazy how how lopsided the censorship or the terms or whatever you want to call it on TikTok is. It's crazy. You can straight up, call for the death of these people. But all of my stuff that I tried 5 different accounts, just posting stuff from my my streams that's allowed on YouTube. So it's not anything that's maybe it's flagged, but it's not anything that's not allowed. 5 different accounts because of what I was talking about, and of course this was during Rona times, but still insane. 5 times as much as Twitter.
So it's not, like I said, it's not going to be 0. But
I wonder. So if it's 5 times as much on TikTok as there are on Twitter, let's just assume that the number of bots are the same for the sake of argument. That the number of anti-Semitic bots on Twitter is the same as the anti-Semitic bots, or the same percentage of users. Then if there's 5 times as many on TikTok, and we know that TikTok skews much younger, what does that say about, I guess, the more millennial Gen Z versus millennial Gen X crowd? I don't know. Just pointed it out.
So it's not, like I said, it's not going to be zero.
Nor should it. There's always going to be the only way it would be zero is if racist people didn't exist, and racist people are always going to exist. And it, unfortunately, as part of the amazing notion that is free speech, it's not perfect, and so it shouldn't be zero. That's what free speech is. It should be the people who are racist are allowed to say they're racist shit, and we can say, "Hey, fuck you. We don't like racism."
To the best of our knowledge, it has the least amount of anti-Semitism of any platform.
Legacy media has spent an awful lot of ink.
I would assume Facebook has the most, just off of nothing.
Anti-Semitism of any platform.
Legacy media has spent an awful lot of ink on you. There's been a lot of attempts to paint you as anti-Semitic or paint X as anti-Semitic. Where do you think that's coming from? Why does the legacy media seem to have you, particularly in the last year and a half, in the crosshairs so much?
Obviously, because he did this. Obviously, as you're not familiar, this was where he was talking about somebody was asking him about advertisers, and he's like, if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself. He's like, no, just so we're clear, go fuck yourself. And very obviously, that's why the legacy media is a little bit different about him than they are about Zuck.
Well, I mean, the reality is that X is competition for the legacy media. So
True.
X is where people go to get the most current news and learn about the world. So, the legacy media is our direct competitors. So they're really going to find every angle to
Mood, what's the relevance of this?
try to cancel X.
Because I'm open to it, but I don't want to. I don't know if it's just about the same thing. We can watch it after.
I mean, if you want to know why things are happening, look at the incentives. So. And legacy media has had a tough time with respect to usage. The numbers I saw was that the sort of traditional print cable television viewership went down something like 20-30% last year.
Damn.
On the other hand, X went up roughly the same, roughly 20-30%.
Yep. So, well, I mean, how many of you still have cable? Or like something, like cable or satellite or something that's on your TV that's not the internet. I don't think I've had cable for 13 years. 13 years I haven't had cable. Don't even miss it.
So it's a direct competition for people's attention. So if there's some attack they can levy against me, they will.
It seems as though one of the
Why not Twitter? Oh, Twitter is so much fun.
other matters is not just direct competition between the media and X, but also that the legacy media for most.
Oh yeah, guys. Again, real quick, it just so happens that every time I make somebody a mod, they decide that they don't like watching the channel anymore. So I am looking for new mods. If you would like to be a mod, you don't have to, but if you'd like to, whenever I pull up this banner, I would love if you could drop the link to the Discord like so. Oh wait, let me do it over here. And then same thing with with this one. Just have something with the join link, reminding people to like the video, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you would like to be a mod, if not, then just enjoy the show. If you would like to be a mod, just do the damn thing, and I will pick up accordingly. So the Soul said mainstream media is dying, and instead of trying to stay relevant to the masses, they're doubling down on strategies that quicken their demise. I think there has to be something with, they understand that we're not going to have, I'm not going to have cable anyway. So instead of trying to appeal to me, just cut the losses. Understand that nobody under 40 has cable. And the fact that that's not going to change. And so the industry is going to die. So the only option is to be in the death throes and make sure that you can maximize what you get from those last parts of your life. So they haven't anything akin to cable in over a decade now. Yep. M169 has cable, but I need to get rid of it. I need someone to hold my hand and gently lead me into streaming, at least the cost. Well, here's my thing. Hey, thank you, sir. I'll get. Let's do that. Just why not? There we go. See. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. Thank you. But yeah, I think I figured out the way to navigate streaming, because in the beginning it was just Netflix and it was like $8 a month. And you watch it. It had everything. It had stuff that was from NBC, CBS, HBO, Showtime, all the good stuff. But then, of course, everybody tried to follow suit, and now there's Peacock and HBO and all of these different things. So I think with the way to go about it, because I think between Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, if you're into Marvel, Disney, other than that, you don't really need Disney. But if you're into sports, then they have like the Disney, ESPN, Hulu package. But other than that, I think if you just pay attention to what shows are popular, like throughout the year, take January, dive into Netflix and just watch all the good shit on Netflix, and then cancel Netflix. And then in February, be like, all right, Hulu's turn. Let's go and watch everything good on Hulu. Then next month you go to HBO, whatever. And then something comes out on Hulu, and you go and switch back. But if you do one at a time, then you get to see everything. Because even if you pay for all of the services, you can't watch any more than one at a time. So you may as well just buy all of them, but just have them at separate times. Am I a fucking genius? I'm a fucking genius. Shout out to Insight of the Ages. Welcome to the party. We are talking with Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro at the European Jewish Association about DEI, or as I like to call it, DIE, the die cult.
Competition between the media and X, but also that the legacy media for most of my life up until the past 15 years performed what they saw as a gatekeeping function. They were the ones who got to define the narrative. They were the ones who got to determine what was appropriate news and what was inappropriate news. And then even after social media arose, in the early days, there was this sort of the sort of things that you articulate were actually articulated by virtually all the social media heads. Mark Zuckerberg used to say the kinds of things that you say. Jack Dorsey used to say the kinds of things that you said. And then there seemed to be an institutional takeover by a lot of legacy media types in terms of the kinds of rules and restrictions that were placed on what you could and could not say on these platforms, who would get banned, who would not get banned. Advertisers weaponized against particular outlets if those outlets didn't follow the diktats that were put forward by these types.
What?
And it seems like since you took over, one of the biggest objection of all is that they're not performing the gatekeeping function anymore. Someone else is.
Well, yes. I mean, I don't think that there should be a gatekeeping function by a small number of
Oh my
individuals.
God, I hate when my buttons stop working. I need them. Okay, well, that one works. Why doesn't the other ones work? Joe Mama says, does anyone know the casualties from Hamas attacks compared to the casualties from Israeli attacks? No, I don't, but I do not think that is a good metric to, I mean, it's good to know if you're curious about the details of the conflict, but I don't think that is a good measure where you're going with that. I don't think it's a good measure to say, well, these killed more people, so they're worse. I think exactly what, I don't know if you're here, but what Elon was saying before, that just because you're the smaller group doesn't automatically make you better. And so if a smaller group is having more or less casualties either way, then it doesn't necessarily dictate that you're better or worse. Is that an agreement? Is that an agreement for Mood? I will take it. But yeah, Mood. Well, I'll just do it.
I mean, if they're like for newspapers in America, there are about 5 editors that decide what gets put on the front page, or what to focus on or what not to focus on, and most of the other papers just copy them essentially.
Yep.
So
that's the most frustrating thing that I've seen, even since I started, paying closer attention to politics. You would see an article that had the evidence of the article in the article. Instead, now what you see is that, well, this article said that, and that article said that, but I wrote that article, so I made this up, and then I'm using the fact that it's an article in another paper as a source for this. Like, what? You just made it up and sourced your own thing. You just made it up.
But is that really what we want? Do we want just a handful of people deciding what they think is important, or
Power to the people!
That the people decide what's important? And I think it should be sort of an organic thing where the people decide what's important and what to focus on, not just a handful of editors.
What a radical, crazy idea. Who let this man speak? Who let this man speak?
Yeah, they don't like the fact that this power has been taken away from them, but I think it should be.
They don't.
I want to go back to some.
Ooh. Did y'all hear that? I was talking over him.
This power has been taken away from them, but I think it should be.
It should be. Indeed, sir.
I want to go back to something that you said a little bit earlier, talking about the idea that on a moral level,
Shout out to those of you over on Rumble. Say hello. Say hello. And if you are on YouTube and you have not already, please do hit that like button.
There's nothing that suggests that simple weakness is itself virtue. That a weak person can be virtuous, but doesn't.
Okay, so I'm gonna put up a poll because do you want to see a video about the pilots? So we've kind of moved past that. So we can save it for the after party. But you know, that was a pretty robust conversation. So if you guys want to see this clip that Mood has brought up, then we'll do that. But just let me know. Otherwise, after party.
A little bit earlier, talking about the idea that on a moral level, there's nothing that suggests that simple weakness is itself virtue. That a weak person can be virtuous, but doesn't necessarily mean that they are a powerful person. Yes. Can be, the victimizer, but doesn't necessarily mean that they are. That logic carried forward, particularly to what's going on in Israel right now, has been, in my opinion, entirely pernicious and wrong. There's this idea that because Israel.
What does pernicious mean? Oh, we had it. Having a harmful effect. In
pernicious,
gradual or subtle way. Okay, what did it say?
Necessarily mean that they are. That logic carried forward, particularly to what's going on in Israel right now, has been, in my opinion, entirely pernicious and wrong. There's this idea that because Israel is a powerful, militarily sophisticated country that is doing its best to limit civilian casualties in one of the most population-dense areas of the world, in which you have terrorists who are honeycombed throughout every aspect of society, building literally hundreds of miles of tunnels, the entire London subway system worth of tunnels underneath the ground, that somehow, Israel targeting those systems and killing a lot of people, because when you kill terrorists, unfortunately, and they're embedded among civilians, it's terrible and it's horrifying, but every one of those deaths is on the terrorist group that embeds itself with civilians.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you're going to use people as human shields, then that's why, who is it? That's why, Joe, that I don't know this, and I don't think that this is a good metric, because a lot of Palestinian people died because of Israeli attacks, but that they die. Their death is on Hamas's hands. Shout out to Kelly Green in the building. So I'm trying to snag a verse from Ben. I mean, he's a hot rapper right now. Mood said, okay, so we got a plurality, and we want to see the video. So we'll go to that. Let's grab these comments and jump over. Mood said, Joe, I think it's 110,000 children and about 300 Israelis. And Kelly Green is dead. All right, so let's see what we got here.
So when you look at that as a comedian, it's like, wow, that was good for me, and that was good for me in a certain way. Of first of all, it's great jokes. Two, it's like it does say, are we becoming too fragile when it comes to our race? Like,
yes.
Like black folk. Like I say, yeah, some people are racist and some people are perceptionists.
Perception.
You know what that means?
Okay.
No. The perception in America was the white man, Donald Trump, can be president. The woman can't do it. Perception. Does it
wait, what? Oh, Hillary. Okay, got it.
Mean that if you vote for Donald Trump that you're racist? I don't think everybody's racist, because that was a big thing. Sometimes it's perception. I'll make it clear.
Okay.
I do a joke in front of all black people, and I said,
You mean not an excuse on behalf of Hamas or not an excuse on behalf of Israel?
black people are very interesting people because we deal with racism and perceptionism. I said, because we're very nervous flyers, right? We don't like to get on planes. First thing we do when we get on the plane, we see who's flying this motherfucker. We look in the cockpit. If we look and see a black guy, we will stop and go, hey, how long you been flying, bro?
See, here's the thing. I've had black pilots before. And I only know that because of all this new stuff that has made me think, have I ever had a pilot? I didn't notice at the time. I don't think that way. Or I didn't think that way. And now I have to.
Guy, we will stop and go, hey, how long you been flying, bro?
And that's okay. But it's racist if anybody else does it.
You got your hours with you? And it was the perception. And don't let a woman sit next to him. Oh, shit, we good? It could be a bright, sunny day. It's like, how's the weather? Oh, we good. And then as you're sitting in that seat, anytime you hit a bump, boom, my brother, we straight?
That's racism. I think we can all agree, no?
Same situation. You go in the cockpit, you see that white guy with that salt and pepper hair and those aviators and his forearm hair like this, and it's storming outside. Shit, fly this shit through a hurricane. So it's the perception that we have to talk about sometimes. Does that make sense?
Oh, it definitely makes sense. Yeah. You know, there's definitely that. You know, like the Donald Trump thing's funny. You know who said it best? Alonzo Bowden. You know Alonzo?
Shout out to Alonzo.
Funny comedian.
Yeah.
He goes, not all Donald Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Donald Trump supporters.
I'd say most racists are leftists, but that's just me.
that he definitely awakened that side.
It is a good joke.
But I will say this, like I said, the perception gets us all too.
Yeah.
You know, because like my daughter, it was interesting. My oldest daughter, like when the election happened and when the results came in, Dad, I'm so mad, I can't take it. I said, well, we're gonna go march. I said, well, did y'all vote? Not all of us, but I said, well, you got to get out there because their perception was she had it in the bag.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to get out.
I remember sitting there election night 2016 and the New York Times had a what do you call it? I don't even remember. Like a fucking, like your speedometer thing. And it was 98% in favor of Hillary Clinton on election night.
Out there and be, whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever that
So this is from 2017 that they're talking.
is indeed. This is weird times for everybody. Because I think social media is allowing people to express themselves.
Yeah.
So Moon, I got to tell you, I don't really see the relevance to what we were talking about with pilots, except for the fact that he was talking about pilots being black and that apparently black people have always been racist against black pilots. And now, because of DEI, all the rest of us have to be as well.
Civilians, those worth of tunnels underneath the ground, that somehow Israel targeting those systems and killing a lot of people, because when you kill terrorists, unfortunately, and they're embedded among civilians, it's terrible and it's horrifying, but every one of those deaths is on the terrorist group that embeds itself with civilians.
I agree. So Jemima saying 26,000 Palestinian casualties compared to 1,400 Israeli casualties. And so so Mood, if you could explain a little bit, I'm not sure if you're saying that the idea of like the reason that there's so many more Palestinian casualties is because Hamas is using human shields. And so I'm not sure if you're saying that isn't an excuse for, I don't know what that means. I was more reminded of the video. I thought it'd be interesting. I think it's interesting, but and again, I don't want to derail too much, and we'll talk about this. But I'm very curious about you articulating the exact connection between that video and what we were talking about, because I think there's something very, 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 very interesting there, if it's what I suspect. But again, head to the after party.
Civilians, it's terrible and it's horrifying, but every one of those deaths is on the terrorist group that embeds itself with civilians. There's been this logic has been
Do you have a source on that?
Mapped onto that conflict, that smaller and weaker means morally virtuous because victimized.
Yeah, it really has come completely full circle from, or 180 degrees from what has historically been the case. So through most of history, the operating principle has been might makes right. So
Based.
yeah, for really up until modern times, might makes right was if you were stronger, you were right.
I would argue, and maybe this is a little bit of a reach, but I would argue that we are still under that that might makes right. It's just that the might is a social like attention currency victimization type thing, and the more might that you have, the more attention, the more victimization that you have, you are right. I don't know. Is that common fucking sense? What do you guys think about that? The idea that it's not no longer might makes right. It's just a little bit of shift that might is attention and victimization.
Might makes right was if you were stronger, you were right. Now we've sort of flipped it to if you're weaker, you're right. But neither is true. There is right.
See, I'm thinking of it, and the weak. I agree with the sense that the weakness gives you the power, but the victimization and the I'm thinking of the group. The group that has the most victimization has the most power.
Rightness independent of strength or weakness.
Wait a minute. Let's say that one more time.
You're right, but neither is true. There is rightness independent of strength or weakness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just because somebody's strong doesn't mean they're right, and because somebody's weak doesn't mean they're right. You have to look at morals in the absolute.
So on a broader level, Elon, you talk a lot about your hope for humanity. I'd say that you're somebody who really loves humanity, which is why you talk about expanding humanity's reach out to the stars. When you go to a place like Auschwitz, or when you walk the villages like Kibbutz Be'eri after October 7th, does that change your opinion of humanity, or does it reinforce what you think humanity can be on both the positive side and on the negative side?
I'll answer as far as he's talking about his visit to Auschwitz, and I was just comparing, obviously not the same thing, but comparing it to my visit to the Holocaust Museum, and you hope that when you see like, oh, this is so much more horror than I thought could be. You hope that changes your view on humanity. That like, oh, I didn't know that people could be this bad. But to a certain extent, it didn't change my view at all, and it was just a confirmation that anybody with the wrong ideas can be convinced to commit atrocities. Anybody who believes in the wrong ideas strong enough can have a pure heart and still commit atrocities, which is why, again, I am so fervently against dogma.
Reinforce what you think humanity can be on both the positive side and on the negative side.
See what he says.
I think it is actually human nature to love humanity unless you're indoctrinated otherwise.
Ooh.
So
what was that?
Unless you're indoctrinated otherwise.
Unless you're indoctrinated otherwise. Indoctrinated with a dogma. I.e.,
so,
Jews are bad.
I think the actual default for most people is to love humanity and to love being around their fellow humans. You can take, for example, like what's one of the worst punishments in prison is...
I forgot the name. Solitary confinement. There we go. It took me a minute.
Solitary confinement. And all solitary confinement means is that you don't get to hang out with the other prisoners, which might not be the best group of people to hang out with. But even that is considered a terrible punishment to not be able to hang out with other prisoners.
That's an interesting way to think about it. Like, it's not about being alone, but specifically that the difference between me being alone and me being around other prisoners. In every single case, it is preferable to be around the other prisoners, because even if you're gonna die, then I mean, fate worse than death in solitary confinement.
So in truth, I think in our nature we all love humanity unless we are indoctrinated otherwise. And so we have to stop that indoctrination.
So how do you think that people ought to pursue that? Because obviously we have seen indoctrination at a wide variety of levels, ranging from sort of soft indoctrination in various schools in the West to very, very hard indoctrination that you see in, for example, the Gaza Strip, where kids are literally, unfortunately, at very young ages, they have graduation ceremonies that we've seen tapes of where they're reenacting kidnapping of Israeli soldiers or killing of Israeli soldiers, for example.
That fundamentally has to be addressed, or there will not be peace. The education of kids in Gaza, the indoctrination of hate into kids in Gaza has to stop. So it's, when I was in Israel, I was like, that was my top recommendation, is like, you've got to make sure, I understand the
rid
need
of the
for
dogma
to invade Gaza, and unfortunately some innocent people will die. There's no way around it. But the most important thing is to ensure that afterwards, that the indoctrination, where kids are taught from as soon as they can understand language, that their goal is to kill Israelis.
And again, as a child, if you learn that, and you're taught to fit that into your moral life, then you don't have to be a bad person. You don't have to even be a mean person to think that it is a good thing to cull an entire group of people. This is what dogma does. And that's all indoctrination is creating a dogmatic belief. It's repeating something so many times that it is not questioned and not able to be questioned. Because that's the other part of maybe the other part that I don't talk about dogma enough is that, surely you can whether, I mean, certainly in religion you can question things. There's no punishment for questioning things. Not with the woke religion. There's definitely punishment for questioning things. But it's okay to question things. But the fact is that people don't. So whether it's the forced lack of questioning or the inherent doctrination that prevents the idea of questioning the idea or questioning the notion, it just doesn't exist. That's how I was as a kid. The idea of not believing in God wasn't something that was part of how humans think. Like that wasn't a thing.
Understand language, that their goal is to kill Israelis. And if you're told that from when you're a toddler, well, you're going to believe it. And that needs to stop.
Yeah. On a technological side, what do you think can be done there? Because actually, this is one of the areas where, the Gaza Strip isn't famous for its internet access. There are a lot of places around the world where the government puts an extraordinarily heavy hand on the flow of information. You're mentioning that the Nazis, first thing they did was take over the entire press mechanism inside Germany and then inside the occupied areas of Europe. But that obviously happens all over the world right now. And one of the things you've used Starlink for is to try and open up some of those avenues of information. But what can you do? What should you be aiming at?
So before we go there, M169 said, I think it was the late 80s, early 90s when I recall seeing a rise in Holocaust denialism. First time I saw my dad go into a rage is when he encountered it. He was there and he saw the bodies. Yikes. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I think Holocaust denialism and flat eartherism is about equal in terms of the reasons to believe. Like, who is benefiting? Who is benefiting from pretending that happened? Who benefits from that? Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, that's the kind of thing. It's like you wouldn't think that denying the Holocaust would even be something that somebody that you would have to deal with, especially talking to your kids about it. And then racist, bigoted people with dogmatic ideas say stupid things and fuck shit up. Now, of course, we're not saying you're not allowed to say anything, but that is what happens when we have free speech. The bad ideas come out, but we need to be armed with better ideas to knock those down.
Worth noting also that the Nazis engaged in extreme censorship within Germany for anything that was pro-Semitic. I'm not sure I don't know how many people are aware of that, but they censored any pro-Semitic, anyone who tried to defend the Jews in Germany.
So anybody who like would defend Trump, got it.
Anything pro-Semitic was censored. So, yeah, I think freedom of speech and rigorous pursuit of the truth is one way to get to defeat hatred.
Based.
You know, when I look at the United
Maybe
States,
the way. Yeah.
well, when I look at the United States, one of the things that seems to be breaking down, and when the first element historically, maybe the last element of a society in a state of mental decline, is a vast outbreak of anti-Semitism. This is what was happening in not only Nazi Germany, but historically, countries that are in a state of decline tend to have wild outbreaks of anti-Semitism. And it seems to me that one of the key things that can reverse that process is the rebuilding of local institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And as local institutions break down, you see sort of this fragmentation.
Right, exactly. If anybody wanted to, like, what? Like, yeah, Germany is just self-flogging, just like the white people of America, because reasons. What? Brilliant point. Brilliant point.
And that can reverse that process is the rebuilding of local institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And as local institutions break down, you see sort of this fragmentation of the population at large. How do you merge the need for technological development with the building of those local institutions, families, churches, schools, and the kinds of things that societies are built upon?
Yeah, actually, I should say there were really three things that were my strong recommendation visiting Israel. One is obviously one has to get rid of Hamas fighters where reform is impossible. Their only goal is to kill Israelis. They got to be either killed or imprisoned.
No other options. Hey, shout out to Gold Holder. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. So, ew, what did I almost miss? Well, you almost missed Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro at the Jewish Association the European Jewish Association, talking about anti-Semitism and DEI in terms of X.
Because otherwise they will simply
welcome to the party, brother.
Israelis. Then the second thing is you've got to change the indoctrination in the schools so that kids are not taught to hate from the moment they are 2 years old. And then the third thing is, and which is a very hard thing to do in this situation, is conspicuous acts of kindness to the people in Gaza. Conspicuous acts of kindness to the people in Gaza.
What does that mean?
It's just that much harder to hate someone if you do nice things for them, even if they try to bite your hand when you do it. Keep doing it. And
I'm not. What exactly was the prescription there? I don't think I understand.
Conspicuous is, and which is a very hard thing to do in this situation, is conspicuous acts of kindness to the people in Gaza. Conspicuous acts of kindness to the people in Gaza.
Why use it? Why the use of the word conspicuous? Why not just acts of kindness to the people? That's what's throwing me off. Like, yeah, I completely agree. If you're nice to somebody, it's a lot harder for them to hate you. Obviously, they have dogmatic beliefs that it doesn't matter how nice you are, you deserve to die because of what you are. But this doesn't seem like a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Well, just be nice.
It's just that much harder to hate someone if you do nice things for them, even if they try to bite your hand when you do it.
But in this case, biting your hand could be killing you. Am I dumb? Can somebody back me up here? Am I dumb, or is he not making sense?
Keep doing it. And you look at the Marshall Plan after, look at the difference between World War I and World War II, where after World War I, Germany got an unfair share of the blame. It led to immense bitterness. It's what allowed Hitler to rise to power. Was the embittered German soldiers from World War I.
I guess, but like that seems kind of almost irrelevant to like wartime, you know?
And but then you look in contrast to what happened after World War II. You had the Marshall Plan. So you had, you had the United States coming in and actually funding the rebuilding of Germany and the rebuilding of Japan. How often does that happen in history? But look at the results. No war with Germany, peace with Japan and Germany for now. Soon it'll be almost a century.
Okay, but those are first of all, those are very different types of societies. Those are also like, especially Germany is a society that would needs to be on America's good side. Japan, maybe not so much, but certainly, again, doesn't want the whole world against them. I don't see how that's relevant because it's not while it is a land grab, it's so much more than that. Most wars are, might have other aspects, but it's about who is in power for this piece of land. But there's more to it here, where they believe as part of their existence that they need to eradicate these other people. So I don't get how being nice is a relevant thing to be talking about at all. Okay, MS69 said, I see the point he's trying to make. I just don't know if it's possible in this situation. Well, please, let me know. Let me know. What is the point that he's trying to make?
So when you look at the state of the West right now, somebody, maybe it's all the doom scrolling, but when you look at the state of the West right now, you're very optimistic, it sounds like. I find it hard to be optimistic in this moment. It's been a very ugly couple of years, from Ukraine to the current conflict in Israel and Hamas, to domestic politics in the United States and everywhere else. It seems like there's a lot of polarization, a lot of fragmentation. What do you think is the future of the West? Can we come together around any sense of shared common values?
Shared common values. I wonder. It's almost like I talk about this incessantly, and that the only way we can come together is around a sense of shared common values. Almost like, if I don't believe in God, but I still believe that we should care about the family and community and gratitude and meritocracy and capitalism, that we can come together around those shared common values. Because I don't share the value that God is real, God is good. I don't share those values with you, but I am certainly on your side in wanting our society to be good. We agree on what good means. Although they said this guy loves playing both sides at all times to pretend like he's actually a good guy. Me? Or Elon? Or who are you talking about? MS29 said the examples he gave. The U.S. rebuilt Germany and Japan after World War II. The Allies didn't punish them further. Now we have peace with them. Right? And so how does that apply to Israel and Palestine? Because again, if Germany and or Japan thought that Americans had to die, full stop, then I don't think we would have peace with them now, regardless of what we did. Which is kind of exactly what's happening in the Middle East. I'm definitely down for humanism.
Especially given the fact that everybody is kind of drinking from the fire hose of information. One of the downsides the upside of information is the availability. The downside is, choice paralysis and overload.
I mean, you can definitely get information overload. There's so much information coming at you these days.
We were just talking the other day about how we are not evolved to know about this much stuff. So what did he say? What did he say that cause, again, I'm not challenging you. I'm just a genuine question. What did he say that is playing both sides? That he's pretending. I would love to hear that. Again, not challenging. I don't see it. I'm just listening and taking it at his word here. Did I say what I was going to say? I think I said what I was going to say. Oh yeah. How we were just not evolved to know what's going on all around the world, and it's frying our brains, and we're only getting more and more and more information. And I don't know that that's good.
I mean, you can definitely get information overload. There's so much information coming at you these days. because you can get all the world's information in real time, and it's impossible for a human.
Exactly, Mike. I'm conservative and I have friends who are liberal, and we get along fine because our base foundation of what we want for America is the same. We can all do that, guys. We can all do that. We just have to be, we have to have a little bit more grace for the people who agree with us, but maybe agree with us for different reasons than why you agree on that point. If you think that you should be nice to other people because God said so, it's not going to help yourself or other people be nice to other people for you to take somebody else who also believes people should be nice to other people, but for a different reason. There's no reason for conflict there at all. There you go.
One human to digest all that. You know, I think there are some things that we can agree on, or most people would agree on, are cool and inspiring, like humanity going to the moon. You know, if you ask probably kids almost anywhere in the world, what's the coolest thing humans have ever done? I think a lot of kids would say we went to the moon.
I mean, I think that's a bad, I get what he's saying, but I think that's a bad example because of how many people genuinely do not believe that we've been to the moon. Goldholder said, with the comment about conspicuous acts of kindness, trying to make it appear that he has some sort of concern for Gazans. He's in a tough spot optically. And what has he said that's been the other side of this? What was he just saying? What, like flatten Gaza or something? What did he say in opposition?
I think a lot of kids would say we went to the moon. You know, and
let's see how many of you guys believe that we went to the moon, and how many of you believe that we did not go to the moon? And this does not, before you answer, I deem it possible that we actually did go to the moon, and what we saw on TV was fake footage. So just on the idea, do you believe we went to the moon? 1 is yes, 2 is no. Do you believe we went to the moon? 1 is yes, 2 is no.
So I think we want to continue that spirit of exploration. You know, speaking of kind of growing the pie, and is that we want to, I think, have a dream that we can be a spacefaring civilization, a multi-planet species, a multi-stellar species, and go out there among the stars and discover the nature of the universe.
Yeah, I think it just doesn't make sense that we had the technology to go there and and now we don't, and all of that. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't mean it's impossible. But I do think that a lot of the footage was bullshit, because even if we really went to the moon, we already know today how much they fake shit when we can, we have the internet to fact check everything. So why wouldn't they, not knowing what was going to happen? Let's say they actually did send the Apollo missions to the moon. They actually did go there, and Neil Armstrong actually did step on the moon. We don't have any fucking footage of that. There was no fucking phone call to Nixon. That was bullshit. That doesn't mean we didn't go. So yeah, the lady said 1, and Moot is with me, saying, I don't know if we went, but that footage was definitely fake. Golden said he's on a boat with the exterminate hummus ideology. What? With a 1. I'm surprised. I would have thought we had a few more skeptics when it came to the moon here.
That we can collectively seek greater enlightenment to better understand this incredible universe we live in. I find that very compelling. I think most people would find that very compelling.
I think embedded in that is also, as you say, that core value of meritocracy, because it's one thing to say man can go to the moon. It's another thing to say I can be part of man going to the moon. And a meritocracy suggests that you can be part of that. It's not just that human beings are capable of doing the thing. It's that you can be a part of that thing if you work hard enough, if you innovate enough, if you try hard enough. And so societies that seem to.
And that's what it was before all this government regulation came in and said, not anymore. It's kind of sad that people are dying of lead poisoning from drinking our water, but we spend billions sending dudes to a floating rock. I said, shit. I definitely agree with that. America first, moon later. Bingo. Got him. We got him. We got another America first in the building. We got a convert. We got a convert. Mike also says we went to the moon. Interesting. I don't know. I kind of think we didn't. I would accept that we did, but I don't know.
To have given up on that also seem to have given up on going to the moon. Societies that are so reflective about their own supposed flaws. The United States has this problem right now that they are unwilling to simply say freedom is pretty phenomenal and meritocracy is the greatest thing that's ever been invented. And we should hold on to that. And that's what's going to allow us to get to the moon. That stops us from going to the moon or to Mars or to anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's many wonderful, interesting things that are happening besides space exploration. Obviously, as time goes by, we improve our ability to cure cancer, to cure many diseases.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of everyday technology and everyday advancements that we use that came from space just study of space and thermodynamics and trying to figure out how can we get outside the atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. I think the go-to example is Teflon. That was developed through NASA, I believe. Golden Holder said they keep building penis rockets and launching tips into space. Why aren't we building a massive one like the Enterprise? Hey, donate to SpaceX and maybe it'll happen. I was gonna make a joke and then it just didn't come to me. Sorry.
There's increased access to information.
There you go.
And people talk a lot about inequality, but what about the equality of access to information? That's incredible. Right now, if you've got
yeah, I think that's a good intersection for shout out to Giggling Spy over on Rumble. Said once Hamas surrenders, it may be plausible. I completely agree. That's the difference between the U.S. and Germany, U.S. and Japan, or any of those interactions. Is that these people didn't have a fundamental need to end the American existence. Shout out to Giggling Spy. Welcome to the party. But yeah, the microwaves came from space. Microwaves came from space. And so did the chance of cloudy meatballs.
Right now, if you've got a very cheap electronic device at an internet cafe, you can access all of the lectures of MIT for free. You can access almost any book.
Hey, we got Alex Pickus in the building. Welcome to the party. How are you doing? Welcome.
To learn anything. This is an equality of access to information that was unthinkable even 20, 30 years ago. You can teach yourself how to do anything for free. That's amazing.
Yep. That's what I was going to say before. We were talking about about Hamas. That this is a good intersection with the Biden administration. Shout out to Moon. We were just talking about the infrastructure deal, and I hadn't read it. I just looked at the White House bullet points, but treating high speed internet as infrastructure, I think is a good idea. I don't think that we're past the stage where it's a luxury. And so with his idea, Elon's idea of now I can't even think of the name because he's calling it Skynet. But with his Skynet and the notion that it is something that people need access, whether Twitter is the new public square, the internet itself certainly is. Mike said, I accept we did go to the moon, but wouldn't be shocked if we didn't. Agreed.
That's amazing.
Starlink. There we go. Thank you.
Maybe there's too much focus on the things that are unequal, but we forget about the things that are equal.
There it is. One more time.
Maybe there's too much focus on the things that are unequal, but
like race and gender and all that stuff. Not a good idea.
we forget about the things that are equal.
Like our values, like wanting people to do well, wanting people to be able to be happy. These basic things are what we can coalesce around. Giggly Spy said, exactly. Neither Germany nor Japan would have surrendered. And that's exactly what I said before you got here. I was like, I mean, yeah, they it was because we were nice to them. But if they had that idea, then it wouldn't have mattered how nice we were. So I think that's kind of just maybe that's just a like a billionaire out of touch type of thing. And we can chalk that one up. But and maybe he meant something different, but it don't make no sense to me.
Things that are unequal, but we forget about the things that are equal and that have improved inequality so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like access to information. That's one of the things that we're trying to help out with Starlink is provide access, internet access to people who don't have internet access or where it's too expensive for them to afford. Because once you have internet access, you can learn anything and you can sell your products and services.
True.
So I think that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's sort of like if we're going to count our flaws, we should also count our blessings.
If we're going to count our flaws, we should also count our blessings. Wise words. I think he's absolutely right. There's so much focus on the negativity. There's so much focus on our differences. There's so much focus on what we're fighting over. And we're all guilty of it. I am definitely guilty of it. But if we can acknowledge it, then we can change it. If we can just acknowledge that we're not as good as we could be, but we have a goal and we try to move towards that goal, we will inevitably be better people despite whatever instinctual bullshit that we have just as human beings.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is amazing about what you've been doing, Elon, is that
I love how he has to give Ben a nod when he's done, because sometimes he'll just stop talking. And we don't know if he's done that. So he's like, yep, I'm done. Okay, you go.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is amazing about what you've been doing, Elon, is that it's not just the business side of you that's important. Obviously, you've become this unbelievably large figure looming in the public imagination, and that means that when you tweet, it has impact that is very large. How do you decide when to tweet? Sometimes it's memories, sometimes it's joking, sometimes it's these long thought out posts. How do you?
I would have to imagine that he does not think about it like that. It just like I have to imagine that he uses it just like the rest of us use it. It's just like, oh, that's something that I want to put out there, so I'm going to put it out there. Sometimes it's for me. Sometimes it's like, oh, hey, I'm checking out the new dating reality show on whatever. And sometimes it's a long post about wokeism or ideology or this, that, or the other. I mean, I have the feeling that he's going to say the same kind of thing. M169 said, when did we buy into the lie that different skin colors equals different species or race? It's why I reject the concept of different races. One race, the human race. Different ethnicities, that's it. Ignorant Spy also said 3 when it comes to the moon. I think that's the smartest play. You'd be like, okay, maybe it could happen, but the footage was definitely fake. Mike said we have more technology in our iPhones than Apollo 13 had. Yeah, what do they say? It's like a TI-89 calculator. That's what we had. It was 1969.
Sometimes it's joking, sometimes it's these long thought out posts. How do you decide when to tweet? How do you inform yourself on the topics that you're tweeting about?
Well, I do post a lot on the X platform. Sometimes 100 times a day.
Jesus.
So, once in a while I'll
really 100 tweets a day. I talk a lot. I do not have 100 things to say every day. That's crazy.
do something dumb, for sure. But I really, I try to say things that I think are interesting or funny. I mean, there must be some reason why 169 million people follow me. I guess. I don't know. I must be keeping them amused in some way. So amuse, entertain, you know, have opinions on something. Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. You know, and for things like community notes, it applies to me as well as it applies to anyone else. So if I say something that's incorrect or, you know, not full context, then community notes will correct me very quickly.
Right, and unlike the fact checkers, that the community note thing is even if it's not meant to be more or less, it seems and it feels and it yeah, it's just less punitive than the fact checkers. When you know, I was talking about the Facebook fact checkers, and of course it went to everywhere. But I don't know. Do you guys agree that the community notes are a very different thing than just the fact checks by this organization?
So, but it's only me doing these posts ever. I don't have a team or anything. In fact, I generally would recommend for leaders of the world to just literally post your own stuff.
Yep. I think that would be, I don't know how, I would like to know what the split is of people like, oh, I don't know how important you would have to be for us to be questioning this, but you know, whatever level we're at. Shout out to the Russian capitalist. Welcome to the party. We are talking with Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro at the European Jewish Association. What was I just saying? That yeah, I don't know. Like, let's just say, you know, if you're a politician or a celebrity, and you know, most people would agree that you're a politician or a celebrity. Of those people, I wonder how many of them actually post their own stuff, and I would love to be able to see what type of engagement. Like, how is the engagement different from somebody who has somebody that writes their tweets versus somebody who posts their own thing? Because I think it's gotta be, even if you don't necessarily, even if you're not consciously aware of it, I have to feel like if you follow a celebrity or a politician or a pundit or whatever, and they're not writing their own tweets, you would, even if you don't know that it's not them, I feel like you wouldn't be not obligated, but you wouldn't feel the desire to engage in the same way as somebody who does write their own shit. Mike said we should celebrate how far we've come with equal rights for everybody. Dilly to that. I mean, you know, we certainly don't live in utopia, but like we said, that is not possible. So absolutely, we should celebrate any milestone we can. And 169 said it is different. It actually allows for people to let them know when they get it wrong. You can't do that with a fact check. Yeah, I agree.
For leaders of the world to just literally post your own stuff. And once in a while, you make a mistake. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it. Let yourself be human, because then when you're not perfect, nobody's expecting you to be perfect. When you act like you're perfect and you present like you think you're perfect, then all that does is create a desire in people to pop that bubble.
So yeah,
Can't win them all. Can't. Nobody bats 1,000.
Again, Ben was about to pop in, and Elon wasn't done.
So yeah,
Can't win them all. Can't. Nobody bats 1,000.
So
okay, you're done?
obviously, where we visited today, you know, the big takeaway always is never again. Yeah, I think that the question that a lot of Jews worldwide asked after October 7th and after that wild upsurge of anti-Semitism, which we've seen, the Jew hatred that continues now, is whether never again really for a lot of people meant never again between the years 1939 and 1945, or whether it actually means never again like right now. As in, if there's a genocidal group that wishes to kill lots of Jews, is that something that you wish to stand up against right now? And when you look out at the world and the state of the world, you know, the video that EJA put up a moment ago suggesting that the Holocaust would have been somewhat mitigated, or people may have had more information. Or been able to, certainly been able to escape earlier. I mean, one of the things that's astonishing, obviously, about the history of the Holocaust is how many Jews, because they were only getting partial information, it was slow and it was gradual, and by the time they wanted to get out, it was just too late for them to get out. You know, what are your hopes that never again is a real thing?
Good question. Good question. Because I mean, obviously, you know, the not letting some fascist dictator who wants a legitimate a genocide in power. Never again. Like, okay, that works, but that's probably not how it's going to manifest. And as we see, that's not how it's manifesting.
I mean, I certainly hope there's not another Holocaust. That's for
How
sure.
realistically is it?
I think it's unlikely, frankly. So at least if you say like, I mean, I could be naive, but I think the probability of a Holocaust in the West is extremely tiny. You know, I think if you look at, say, the Nazis, I think Hitler got like a third of the vote or something like that when he was first he was sort of semi-elected and then did basically a coup. But think of all the people that fought to destroy Nazism. The millions and millions of people that fought and were died.
A lot more people than fought for Nazism.
To destroy Nazism. That's the vast majority of the West opposed, even in those days, opposed Nazism, and fought and died. And my grandfather was in World War II for almost 6 years. All his friends got killed. He was the only one of his friends to survive. And he was severely traumatized. Like, he really just couldn't even talk afterwards. Most of that time was in East Africa, North Africa, Italy. The only reason he's even alive, frankly, is because towards the end of the war, they gave like an aptitude test because he was just a corporal. He didn't graduate high school, so he wasn't eligible for officer school. And they plucked him out probably right before he died and sent him to work for British intelligence in London.
Wow.
Which is where he met my grandmother. You know, so he was one of the people
Crazy.
fighting to stop the Nazis, and many, along with millions of others. But, you know, so
Where's the crowd? Where's the crowd? Maybe they don't have a mic. Maybe these mics are a lot louder. But I would think there'd be a little bit of applause there.
let's not forget that the vast majority of the West fought and died to stop Nazism.
So I had the chance to briefly meet your 3-year-old today.
Oh yeah,
He's
a fun guy.
Adorable.
Say his name. What is the name? Axixlan?
I have a 3-year-old of my own, so I
Put one in the chat if you have no idea what I mean about his name.
they're all very similar. But you know, you have some kids who are much older. You have kids who are younger, obviously. When it comes to teaching them about things like the Holocaust and anti-Semitism, how do you address those topics?
This shit's awesome. Let's go. No, I mean, just like anything else, you have to approach it in a way that is age appropriate. And so you don't necessarily want to be talking to children about the specifics of like what was going on. You can introduce the topic, especially if you are if you're Jewish and that's part of your excuse me, part of your heritage, then you might have more of a reason to want to introduce it before the school does. But just saying that Hitler was a bad guy and he didn't like a certain group of people just because of their religion, and he wanted to get rid of them. Then then there's an idea that, okay, this happened. I don't really know the details, but maybe then I will be inclined to ask my own questions and get more age-appropriate information based on my questions. The same exact thing goes for your gender.
Well, my kids are pretty well.
Special keyboard for what? Oh, to write it? Yeah, right? Everybody knows what I mean? Yeah, I have no idea how to say that kid's name.
Read. So they read a lot of history. They're not ignorant.
Can they read their own name?
Ignorant on the subject. I mean, maybe the 3-year-old is, sure. But,
I would hope, yes.
Can't read, so.
He's a denier. The 3-year-old, oh man. The other kids, they're there, but the 3-year-old, he's a denier. Almost 9 said the concept of people hurt others because they were different can be done at an early age It scales up as a child grows in understanding. Bingo. Exactly. We can, and this has been the standard practice of introducing big concepts, whether it's big because it's bad or big because it's complex or for any other reason. Big concepts to children is by doing it in steps, doing it in an age-appropriate way, and making sure that they understand what you're talking about and they feel comfortable with the totality of the information, and that you leave the door open to continue talking about it. And I mean, I just have to bring it back to the only thing that I see relevant with that stuff is the trans stuff. And it just doesn't make sense where 3-year-olds have to be given the details of what happened in what is Zyklon B and how does it affect the human body. Like, they don't need that. They don't need that. And just like they don't need that, they don't need to think about, personality and expression are certain things, and that can go as deep as your gender and all of that. We don't need that. Some people are different, and that's okay. That's it. If you feel different, you can come and talk to me about it, and we'll decide if that is something that needs to go anywhere. You can be age appropriate with big ideas.
I would hope, yes.
Can't read, so. No, my kids are very well read, so. But I've had some sort of disturbing conversations with sort of some, say, nephews, or some family members, not my kids, but kids of family members, where I was actually shocked to see anti-Semitism, or at least, yeah.
It's tough.
One disturbing conversation was, saying that that we deserve to have the trade towers destroyed because of our terrible foreign policy. I was like,
who said it early on? Early on, somebody was exactly saying that about Bin Laden. Let's see if I can find it. I'm not going to wait too long, but it's a little bit up there. I can't find it. But yeah, exactly what we were talking about. To think that there could be anybody in America who is even a little bit, what's the word? A little bit, going blank. Supportive, not supportive, but understanding of ISIS and Al Qaeda and all of that. It's just how, and it's people like that. Farrakhan expressed that sentiment. What does IRC? And what does IRC mean again? I know you guys have told me that, but I forget. IRC, I forget. But yeah, I mean that's how we got there. That's how we got there.
Saying that that we deserve to have the trade towers destroyed because of our terrible foreign policy. And I was like, this is what they're teaching you in elite New York high schools? This is messed up.
In New York, of all places. That's one of the biggest disappointments about just America as a whole when it came to COVID. Obviously 9/11 was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad thing. But there was a silver lining that after, obviously I wish it didn't happen, but the fact that it did happen after, we did come together. We did feel like one cohesive group for like 2 weeks. And then it just faded away. But I mean, it was longer than 2 weeks. It was a good, few months. And I really, 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 really thought that COVID would bring us together. And look how that turned out. I don't know, man.
Teaching you in elite New York high schools? This is messed up.
Well, Elon, I think I personally, Jews all over the world, A lot of people in this room want to thank you for not only visiting Auschwitz, but also for visiting Israel after October 7th and for the strong moral voice you've been on behalf of the fight against anti-Semitism. It's great to spend time with you. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro. So, I mean, this was not the kind of conversation that we have all the time. And at the same time, well, I started this off saying, well, we have to talk about the same stuff over and over to make sure that we really understand and da 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 da. Also, we want to kind of step outside of our wheelhouse a little bit, and not that like Ben Shapiro and Elon Musk talking is outside of the wheelhouse, but in terms of the topic, not something we would normally do. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought about this type of conversation, and specifically what you thought of my commentary here, especially if you're in the replay gang. Hit those comments. Let me know. I'm always looking to get better, and I could definitely use the ego boost if you liked it. But either way, I think there were some important topics that came up here, and it just goes to show that as long as people are coming together with the purpose of discussion, the purpose of questioning things, then we will always turn out better afterwards. Did anybody become an amazing person compared to who they were before this stream? No. But if you get a little better with every single stream and every little whatever, then we're good. We're moving as long as we're moving in the right direction, we're good. So I want to thank you guys again. I'm going to drop the link to the Discord server. It is free to join. It is absolutely free to join. We do have our free chat and our current events channel open to everybody. We spent a lot of time in there, but there is more to the server. There's the disciple chat. There's the watch party channel. We got a contest going on. Shout out to Soil to Soul, who just won the recent word of the day contest. Next one up is the movie night contest. If you hold the movie night, and you bring get people in, you get points, and whoever wins gets a prize at the end. So it is a good ass time, and it is a great way to find and meet other people who are just like you, or maybe not just like you, but still want to talk to you and talk about these things and get different opinions, but also people who are like you, because even if they disagree with certain things, if you're somebody who, like Mike was talking about before, cares about coming together with people, if you care about understanding truth and reality, if you care about being challenged and wanting to know, hey, if I'm wrong, I need somebody to be, hey, you're wrong about that, so that I don't go around looking like an idiot, then Discord is the place for you. This is the place for you. This is what it's all about, guys. Yeah, I love coming here and talking to you guys, but building the community. Shout out to those of you who are parts of this community. This is what it's for. And I promise you, we will have political sway one day. But it's one person at a time. So I promise I will be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be here. I will be willing to have the conversation. I will be willing to field your questions. I will be willing to take pushback. I will always be willing for that. So all you guys got to do is show up. Show up and be part of the conversation. And if you really care, shout out to Culture Pop with B Hop. You can throw a little cash my way to help things rolling. And of course, a big shout out to the sponsor of the stream, Guam Tech. Thank you, and congratulations on your big sale. Let's head on over to the after party because I am dying. I am dying to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for hanging out with me once again. This is Morty and the hoodie, Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.